Kakadosh Boker Or Masechet Bava Metzia Daf Samachtet Amud Aleph 69a1. You were talking about the difference that there was a big rabbi, because this was the children of Elish, that there was a shtar that came out against, basically after the death of their father, that it was written basically half-half, and he said it can't be that basically he was a very big rabbi. It couldn't have been that he was giving Isurim to other people. So obviously it had to be that he was also paying them a wage, because if he wasn't paying them a wage, it would have been a problem. So that was yesterday's daf. We're starting today, Amar Rav Kahana. So Amar Rav Kahana is on the first line, the last word on the line, Amar Rav Kahana. Says Rav Kahana. Okay. And he says like this. Amrita lishmata. I said the Shmua Kamed Rav Zvi min Narda in front of Rav Zvi from Narda. The Amarli, and he told me, Dilma Rav Elish tovel imo betzir hava. Right? Maybe he was actually dipping his bread with him. The Amar Rav Nachman, and Rav Nachman said, Allah Chazak Yehuda. What does that mean? You remember yesterday what we were mentioning is that it was a very important concept. When you come and if you're going to be a financier, which means you're giving all the money, and somebody else is working on the product. So therefore becomes chetzi alva, becomes like half-half, which means he accepts upon himself half of the losses. That means even though he didn't put any money, but he actually takes half of the money like a loan. And therefore the question was, it should become rebit. Okay, so this guy comes. So imagine, I'm coming and I'm financing your project. So I come and I give you 100% of the money. I give you $10,000. So technically speaking, if there was a loss, I should lose everything. But it's not like that. If we lose everything, you lose 50% and I lose 50%, which means that you take a 50% like a loan. So the question is, that should be rebit, because you're working, you're doing all the work, and you're taking 50% as a loan. So we answered that no, that it has to be that there was a big machloket. Did you have to take a salary still? Or is it that even if it's going to be that you're going to be dipping your bread in brine, meaning that you're giving him something, or you're giving him like a dried date or dried figs, that's already enough. So that was the machloket. We paskind that it was enough just to dip your bread in. So here, says the Gemara, maybe Rav Elish, he gave him all the money and everything, but he didn't make him do an averah. Maybe they were dipping the bread. He was giving him to dip the bread in the brine. And therefore, by giving him that little benefit, that was already considered that he was benefiting, and it's not considered anymore rebit. So therefore, that's what he did. So Elmaleh says, Lav ilcheta itmar, ela shita itmar. It wasn't said that halacha was like that, but rather it was said in the name of the Tanaim like a shita. What does that mean? They went in the same shita. Not that the halacha is like that. That means the halacha is not like Rabbi Yehuda, but rather like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai that argues on Rabbi Yehuda. You have to actually give him a full wages. That's what they wanted to say. Okay, now we're going to try to bring a proof to Rav Nachman. We actually paskin like Rabbi Yehuda and not like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. It's logical to say also that Rav Nachman came and he said that it's not like just like a stama shita, not like a psak. Because if you're not going to say that, halacha the halacha. Why does Rav Nachman have to come and say the three different Tanaim and say halacha is like keploni, halacha like ploni, halacha keploni? Just say halacha ke Rabbi Yehuda de mekel mikulu. The halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda, and Rabbi Yehuda was more mekel than anybody else, and that's it. Yeah, it was mekel mikulu everybody. So Amar Rav, so Rav comes and he says, Motar shelish ischarecha areze mutar. So basically, from before, we wanted to say that the fact that Rav Nachman went and he said the names of the Tanaim, it was like he was saying all the kulot were saying in the same shita, but halacha l'maaseh, we pass like Rabbi Shimon, that's machmin, and you have to actually pay him a regular wage. That's what the Gemara wanted to bring a proof to saying this. Now the Gemara is going to say, says Rav, Mutar shlish, the tosefet, the extra tosefet of the shlish, ischarecha, hareze mutar, is going to be mutar. So therefore, even though it could be that it doesn't even go up more than a shlish, nevertheless, this third that you're getting that's going to be permitted. So if he's going to get a third of the animal, but then it becomes like a sharecropper. You take a third or a quarter or a half or whatever it is, depends on the circumstances, that you become, it's like mamash. You know what a sharecropper is? Sharecropper is, I work your land, but I don't get a salary. But you know what my salary is? Aris. So what do you get? You get either a third, shalish uravia, yeah, lo shama, but it's a shalish uravia or mechza. Yeah, what does that mean? We come and you get a third or a quarter, or you get a chetzi, talui b'fiyanyan, right? What do you get exactly? Okay. Sharecropper. You're sharing, right? And a crop, the yibul. You're sharing the crop, sharecropper. Okay. Ushmul Amar, Shmuel comes and he argues. And he says, Lo matzah motar shalish, yelech leveto rekan. If you cannot find a third of the principal, and basically you're going to go to with your hands empty-handedly, how could it be? And Amar Shmuel says, Kotzetz lo dinar. You have to give him a dinar no matter what. So you tell him, Ani noten lecha dinar, minimum. Shav, you should know it could go up to a shlish. Now, what happens if it's not a shlish? Well, you're going to get nothing. You just worked. You get nada. When was the last time you saw somebody work for free? I see nobody work for free. Everybody works for something. Doesn't exist working for free. Yeah? So he says, so you have to be kotzes lo dinar. Yeah? So he says, V'savar Rav. So Rav holds, En kotzin lo dinar. Right? He says, what? Are you going to tell me now you're not going to do a dinar? You're not going to give him a dinar. But rather, you get a shlish. The Amar Rav says, Resh egla lefatoma, right? Rosh egel, you're going to give it to the mefatem, which means you're going to give it to him in order to fatten the animal. So same thing, you give the animal to, let's say, some type of a shepherd. The shepherd fattens up the animal, mefatem oto, oto, yeah. He just gives him the diet of Pesach. He makes him all fat, and then he continues. Yeah. So he says, my lover, we're not talking about then, the Elmaleh, he tells them, shlish mischarecha. He says, the extra shlish is going to be in your reward. He says, they're going to know. The Elmaleh, imotar shlish, iresh egla lefatoma. He says, the iska is muteret, whether he told him that you're going to get a shlish, or whether he told him he's going to take rosh egel, right, the head of the egel, whichever one that it is, it's going to be permitted. That's the first answer. Second answer, when you could answer. When does the Rav come and he says that if you told the Bala Egel Roe Motar Shlish is going to be mutar, for example, he has his own animals. The people say Gabile Torah, Gabile Torah. Meaning until you're going to come, you're going to start making food for one shore, you're going to do it for two shores. There's not extra meaning. It's like, for example, somebody has guests at home. If you're going to tell me somebody already has guests, between one guest and two guests, salam shos. So if there's no guests, you're at home, you're tranquilo, you're this. The second that there's guests, to add one extra, you're going to add another potato in the adafina. Big deal. In the chamin. There's no big deal. Okay? Make sense? Okay. Story time. Yeah, just for more the Rabbi Elazar me'agronia. Zavim be'ema. He bought an animal. So he gave it to his sharecropper. Yeah, in order lefatem oto. Mefatem le. So he pitem oto. Right, he made it all fattened. So he gave him the head as an agad. And he gave him also chetzi revach as well. Amra ledvitu. So the Eshet Aris told the husband, Imi shtatfa. Yeah, bade. He says, if you're going to be mishtatef with Rabbi Elazar in the hashka, right, and therefore you're going to actually pay from your money. Yeah, he says half the money for rechishat bema. He should give you for sure the aliyah also. Aliyah is the tail. Give him the tail. And we know the ox tail is the best part of the animal. Yeah. Yeah, the ox tail. Yeah, it should be shutaf. So Azal Zavin Bade. So he went and he bought b'shutafut an animal with Rabbi Elazar. Pitme. So Paligle Maliyata. So Rabbi Elazar came and he took from the aliyah also. He did give him everything. Elmaleh, he says, let's divide the head. Elmaleh, Hashta Kimikara Namilo. Says what? Now the shutafut is not on this at like the beginning. Elmaleh, he says, Adain nazuze didahav. Said at the beginning, it was my money. And therefore, Iloya Yivna Purta, he says, if I wouldn't have given you a little bit, he says, Mechsi Kirbit, it looks like Kirbit. Hashta now shutfeanan. Now we are shutafim. Maika Amarta, what did you say? Tarachna Tfei Purta, you're going to work a little bit more. Amriinshe, people say, Stamarisa Lemare Ana Kamesha Benavshe. The Stamaris is working for the master of the land, the Tuleraya, to give it, which means that in order that he doesn't have to come and start buying more things. So therefore, since you were doing a little bit extra tircha bechinam for the balakarka, you can't start asking for more. Meaning at the beginning, now it came out worse because now that he was a partner in the animal, now the guy comes out worse. Beforehand that he wasn't a partner in the animal, so he had to give him a part of the animal in order that there's no rebit. Now that he's a partner in the animal, he doesn't have to give him anything. So he says, I'm sorry, I'm just giving you the tail. We go, no, that's it, 50-50, whatever, that's it. Okay? Another story. Hasham be'emaleh chavero. If you're going to come and you're going to evaluate an animal and you give it to your friend in order to grow it up and you get half the reward. So when are you obligated to watch over it? Sumchu Soma Omer, Sumchu says Bautonot. When we're talking about the Atonot, 18 chodesh. So an aton, a mule, I think it's in English, no? Huh? Yeah. So he says 18 months. Begodrot with a keves, right? Or an ez with a sheep or a goat, 24 months. If you want to take it within the 24 months or within the time, whichever time it was allotted, you could stop him. But the first year and the second year is two completely different things. Because in the second year, it needs much more food than in the first year. It's like a baby, right? The more that it grows, the more food that it needs. At the beginning, you just give it a little bit of formula, and afterwards, continues growing. So says the Gemara, "My aval de kama." We talking about now aval. What do you mean aval now? Ella, but rather lefi sheno domet tipula shel shana zol tipula shel shana acheret, which means the minhag of megadle beemot is that in the second year he's going to be mitapel b'zeh b'shana shniya is worse than the first year. So therefore he's allowed to take right it shelo yafsik kodem zmano. So therefore basically he's allowed to the bala bema is allowed to be ma'akev that he's not going to stop beforehand. Because obviously that's when the hard work begins. You can't start doing the easy job and all of a sudden, now you do the rest. And said, no, it doesn't work like that, right? You have to, you have to do the full job. Tanya Yida, we learned also another braita. Hasham be'emaleh chavero, al matay chayav letabeh bevladot, bedaka, when we're talking about be'ema daka, a small animal, 30 yom, 30 days. Begasa, with a big animal, 50 days. Rabbi Yosef says, bedaka is 3 months, because you have to be metapel a lot. So it says the Gemara, since it has very, very small teeth, you can't eat the good, meaning it's very difficult for it to eat. So you have to make sure that it eats. So how do you do that? You need the mother to always come and start getting it to start eating. So because of that, since you need a lot of tipul, a lot of taking care of it, it's a different halacha. But after this, then he's going to come and he's going to take half of the ladot because of the iska of the mother, and then besides that, he's also going to take half of the vladot, which is shayach to the bala be'ema, which is still in his hands, and he's going to be zakai only in also to the chetzi shevach of that chetzi as well. So he's actually going to get much more than. Okay, Rav Menashe bar Gada. So this is a story now. Again, Rav Menashe bar Gada, he was mekabel, right, an animal to be megadelota for half the machzit schar. So he was metapel b'vladotea more than the time that was appropriate to do. So shakal mechza shelo, he took his half. The chetzi mechza shakaroni, he took half of the other half of his friend. So basically, he's taking 3/4. That is it. He's taking his half, which that's halacha because he's being megadela bema. Plus, he's taking the half of the other of the gains of the balabait. So atala kamed Rabbi, they came in front of Rabbi. Elmaleh, he says, "Man palag lecha? Who is mechalek to you?" Ve'od, and furthermore, right? Makom shenagu legadelhu. This is a place where they have it's a minhag. Utnan makom shenagu legadel. So the minhag is the place where they have, right? They have a minhag legadel vladot. Yagdilu, right? They should leave it in your hands, right? Just like the minhag. And then at the end, they're going to do this. You shouldn't come and start taking the chelek of the friend because of the two different reasons that we mentioned. Then he says, so basically he's telling him, what are you doing then? Does it make sense? So because of these two different reasons, you have to give back, right? That's what he says here. You have to actually come and divide them right now. Yeah, right? Shaveh b'shaveh, 50-50. Another story. There are two kutim. They did a business deal together. One of them went. He divided the money without the friend there. Papa, they came in front of Papa. Elmaleh, he told him, "Ma'inaf kamina." He says, "What is the mishnah now?" Right? This is what Rav Nachman says. Zuze keman de money is like it's already divided. Right? L'shana, but the next year, they bought wine. Kam idach, one of them got up. He divided with the other guy. So when the Papa Elmaleh, he says, who divided it? He says, well, you see, you're running after me, right? That you're always coming after me, right? What does that mean, right? What's going on? Beforehand, right? It was fine, and now not, but obviously there's going to be a huge difference. The difference is going to be that by money is already divided, meaning there's no difference between the money, right? But there's going to be a difference over here. Here, there's going to be a big difference because by the chamra, maybe you're going to take the good wine, you're giving him the bad wine, inferior wine. So if I buy the wine and other things, no, you have to actually divide it, right, with the other partner there. But if it's money, it's all the same money. What's the difference? Right? We're not talking about different currencies or different. Amar Rav Papa says, Masechet 69b. In such a case where we're going to come and we're going to suspect, right, that maybe Be'emet the Dayan is going to be Noseh Panim. So imagine we suspect that maybe one of the Dayanim is showing faces, as they say. Yeah? But that's right? You have to tell him, right, the reason of the Psak Din. Right? Why? You can't just pass like that. You have to explain to him why you're being posek like that. So he says, Zuze mishakil tavi v'shavik chasre. He says, when you're taking something bad to himself and you're being chaser something else. He says, wine, some of them is good, and some of them is not good. The money is all the same. That's why I already started by saying it. We're not talking about different currencies. We're not talking. They're all dollar bills. Yeah, and they're yeah, everything's the same thing. So if we're going to divide it, there's nothing else. But here by wine, there's good bottles, there's bad bottles. So for there, you need both of them there in order to come and to start dividing it between them. Okay. Now the Gemara says, Gufa Rav Nachman. Says Rav Nachman, Zuze kiman de pligidamu. Money is considered that it's already divided. Hane mile, when is it one of these words? Tave, good money and good money, or tkule, or bad money and bad money. Right? Well, let's say it's heavy or whatever. But if it's obviously different currencies or different things, obviously it's not going to be considered divided, which is obvious. He used to maskid zuzim, right, for the schar of one zuz, right, per day. Okay. Kol zuze de Rav Chama, right, which means the money of Rav Chama, everything got lost. Yeah, he says why? He became poor. So who Savari thought, Maishnami Mara. What's the difference, right, from a medar, which means just like I could come and it's permitted to rent out a utensil, so too I could come, right, and rent out money as well. Velohi, but it's not true. Mara hadra be'ene. When you come and you lend out or you rent out a shovel, what happens is that you give it back the exact same way. So therefore, right, he's not obligated to pay you back the shovi and anything. So if it got lost or something happened, right, he's going to be patur from paying back. And therefore the kli, as long as he says, kol hazman bebalut hamaskid, a maskid could come and be toresh the tashlum of using it. Vidia pechate. And not only that, you know how much does it go down in value. And therefore he has to pay it. But zuze lo hadra beine, but money, even if you're going to come and you're going to like rent out money, he says they don't come back themselves. It's other money. And therefore the money is a chrayuta socher, and he's the one that's in charge of everything. And therefore the socher has to give him, right? And if he's going to have to give him, it's considered a bit. We don't know how much it goes down, right? Why? Because it's not nikar, even through the shimush. And therefore, it comes out that if you're going to come, the socher is going to pay back the maskir, schar bechinam, it's going to become ribit. So you could rent out a utensil. You can't rent out money. Right? Yeah, but renting out money is like a halva'ah. That's what we're trying to say. And therefore, it's ribit. תחשוב, אני אומר לך, זה לא ריבית. אני נתתי לך $100 להשתמש, כשאתה רוצה להחזיר לי $100, כן, אני מזכיר לך את זה, אז אתה צריך להביא לי 110. למה זה ריבית? בגלל זה לא הלוואה, זה מה שאנחנו אומרים, זה הלוואה, זה לא שכירות. אני שכרתי לך מה? שכרת ממני את כסף. זה כסף.
אתה מדמה כלי לכלי.
זה מה שאני אומר. That's what we're saying. That's what we're saying. We're saying, no, but there's a difference. When I'm going to rent this out to you, you're using this and you give this back to me. I cannot rent this to you and you're going to give me a different mouse. I'm going to tell you, what are you doing? No, אבל זה משהו, עוד פעם. So says the Gemara, Gufa Amar Rav Nachman, says Rav Nachman, Zuze, commanded Pelegedami, and Emile, okay, that was good, bad, fine. So he says, but you can't actually rent out money and you don't know. Says the Gemara, Amar Rava, says, a person is permitted to tell his friend, Hela Charba Zuze, Ve'osfe Leplania Zuze. Yeah, go, here you have 4 zuz, and go lend it, right? Kilu b'schar zot, you're going to come and lend it to somebody. That means even though he's taking it as schar, as a halva'ah, it's permitted. Shelo asra Torah l'ribita ba miluveh l'malveh. It's only going to be a rebit, which is going from the malveh to the loveh, from the lender to the borrower. That's the only time where it's going to be prohibited, right? This entire concept. Okay? Now says the Gemara, says, a person could tell his friend, Shaki lachar bazuzeh, ve'emaleh leploni leosve zuzeh, take this 4 zuz, and then you're going to tell somebody to borrow the money. Tamas schar amira kashaki, he says, well, he's taking the schar amira. It's not on the halva'ah in itself. And by the way, this is in essence what you guys are saying about the ki'ilu that you're coming right now. You're taking the 4 zuz, now you're renting it out. So therefore, it's ki'ilu now. By doing that, you're actually taking the money. He was taking the gule of shava from shava. And he says, to his father, right? Lend the money. Amru le Rabbanan Papa, achil brei demor rebita. Says what? The son of Rav is eating rebit. Amalu, he says, Kol ki hai rebita nechul. You could have this. Why? Lo asra Torah el rebit malveh milove le malveh. Vehacha schar amira kashakil. He's only taking a schar amira, right? That I'm going to do this. I'm going to take the money. I'm going to lend you out the money, and therefore it's going to be permitted. So basically, it comes out. It's mutar for the love to give a present even to the son of the person that's giving him the loan. And even though the son is benefiting, meaning the father is benefiting from that which the son is getting, right? Nevertheless, the present was given to the son and not to the father, and therefore it's not a schar amira. That's what he's saying. It's schar amira. And therefore he says, obviously he's talking about the ben gadol shenu samuch l'shulchan aviv, because if not, then it is actually be'emet 100% asur, but that's what he's actually saying. Okay? Fine. So this is actually an incredible concept. So imagine you have somebody, right? Your married children, I come, I give them the presents, muta, and rebit. The rebit is to you or to your children, which are samuch al shulchancha. אבל גדולים, אני נותן להם מתנה, it's not rebit. Yeah, נישואים והם לא סמוכים עליך. היום זה לאו דווקא נישואים, זה... Fine. אוקיי? משנה. שמין, לא סמים. שמין פרה וחמור. Yeah, so he said over here, they're going to evaluate a פרה גדולה נחמור גדול, לכל דבר שהוא עושה ואוכל, and anything which does, but it obviously has to, it's going to be enough to cover the parnasa, you know, like for the food. למחצה, מקום שנהגו לחלוק את הוולדות מיד חולקים. If right now they come and they divide the children, right, which means that they're able to do it on their own, right, and therefore they don't need any expert, whatever it is, they do it right away. מקום שנהגו לגדל, יגדילו. If they have a minhag to come and to be מגדל the ילדים of the animals, so they יגדילו. You're going to evaluate the mother, the egel with the mother, and the siach, the small horse with the mother. A person could be marchiv, right? How do you translate here marchiv? Razot. Marchiv al sadeu, which means he's going to be marbeh the sachar that he's getting from his field for a halva'ah, the eno choshesh mishum ribit, and he's not going to suspect for ribit. So we're going to see the Gemara. What does that mean that you're allowed to come and you're allowed to actually take like as if to say more on the work of the field, and there's no problem of ribit. So Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in the Braita, says the Gemara. Mafriz al sadeh v'eno choshesh mishum ribit. So what's the case? Hasocher et sadeh mechavero be'esrim ba'asara kurim chitin l'shana. Imagine right now I come and I rent out the field for 10 kur per year. Okay, and he tells him, tell me 200 zuz, give me 200 zuz, and I'm going to take care of it. And I'm going to make 12 kurs in the year. Mutar, that's going to be mutar. Everyone understood what happened? One more time. You are a person like you're a manager, right? So what happens is that I come and have a business, right? Or I have a property. He comes and he says, you know what? I take care of it. Usually the deal is that I take it and I give you 10 kur. He says, you know what? Let's do this deal. You give me 200 zuz, and every year I'm going to give you 12 kur instead of 10 kur. So maybe you're going to tell me that's a bit, right? Maybe you're allowed to use it. So he says he's allowed to do that. There's no rebit. He says, why? Because the 2 extra kurs, right? The guy was just appreciating the value of the field. And therefore he says now, obviously, once it's appreciated, meaning he came with a 200 zuz and he made it all nice and everything. And yeah, and therefore, since he came and he made it nice, so therefore now the property could produce more. It's like, for example, I'm going to come and I'm going to take your property. I tell you, you know what? Yeah, I come and I tell you, you know what, David, give me another 200,000. What I do is I come and I renovate the entire house. So now, obviously, the house is not going to make the same rent. Beforehand, it was a rundown house. I was only making $1,000 rent. All of a sudden now, I'm making $1,200 or $1,500 rent. So now he says it's not considered a beat. He's allowed to come and he's allowed to do it because he was mafriz al sadehu. Mafriz al sadehu means is that he's actually appreciating, right, the value of the field. 100%. Aval en mafriz lo al chanut velo al sfina. But you cannot do this not on a store or not on a sfina. 1 second. He says, because if you're going to rent out, whether it's a chanut or a sfina, right? So you're not allowed to come and to lend them out money in order to come and to do that. He says, and to pick up the price, because you're not appreciating the value of the sfina or the chanut. Meaning it's only going to be in a field that you could appreciate the field, right? So therefore you're appreciating the field. There's no problem. But if you're doing this, there's no problem. Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rav Bavua. Says Rav Nachman, name Rav Bavua. Pe'amim shemafriz al chanut latzur basura. Sometimes you're going to be mafriz by the schar on the chanut in order to come and to make beautiful things. So that's what David was saying. Well, what? You come, you make the store all nice. What's the problem? Or sfina la solo iskira, to make a toren, to make the, how do you call the toren? The toren is, you know, that the thing in the middle. The yeah. Okay.
הרב תורן, אתה צודק.
כן, אני יודע, כתוב בגמרא תורן, אבל בעברית, אבל yes, the fine, doesn't matter. Yeah, the toren, right? Basically, the middle part of the boat where you have the big pole and then you have the sails. Okay, so he says chanut is latzur batsurata tzavu ba'imshe. Says people could come if they want, that they'll want to come in more. They have igrat face, so they're going to buy more. So therefore, they're going to even rent more. Meaning, when you come into a beautiful store, people are going to come. They're going to pay more, right? What do they call it? Yes, the mast. The mast. The svina, to make this mast, he says, given the shapira is karet, since at the end of the day, it's going to make it even better, so people want to rent it out more. Meaning, people are going to want to come, right? And they're going to want to make it in such a fashion because that's what they're trying to do. Okay? So the Gemara now comes and says, when we're speaking about this entire concept of the, some people are going to come, they're going to pay more because it's got a mast, it's got nice, says Meshupetz, nice. So says the Gemara, Sfinta, to do with the Sfina, Amar Rav says, Agra upagra, right? The schirut and also the breaking of it that even if it's going to come and it's going, so you're allowed to come and you're allowed to rent it out in order to get the Schirut, and also if it breaks, also, right? He has to pay for it as well. Okay, so that's also another halakha to do with the boat. That means basically if he's going to come and he's going, that means basically a regular socher, he's patur me'onsim. It says here, mutar laskid, you can make a condition. If you break it, you pay for it. But derech klal, you rent something, unless you did a negligence or I don't know what, really usually you're patur. Here you're going to be chayav. You could become chayav. Okay? So says the Gemara, Amnu le Rav Kahana Ravasi Rav, says Rav Kahana Ravasi to Ravi Agra, if the Sfina is going to be B'Rishuta Maskir, right? So then he comes and he says, if it's going to be B'Rishuta Maskir, so he says, and he's going to take it, La Pagra. So therefore you can't ask him to why, because he's not Chayav in Onsim. If he Pagra, and if he's going to take the money of the if it breaks, Lo Agra, so then he can't take the money of the thing, because then it's going to be like a Rabbi Balva. So answers the Gemara, Shatikra. Rav, right? He didn't have he kept quiet. He didn't know what to say, but it actually looks like a loan. Like what's going on? Basically, you can't take from אתה לא יכול לרקוד בשתי חתונות. הרבה אנשים. יש הרבה אנשים שעושים את זה פה, אבל לא משנה. אבל אתה לא יכול לרקוד על שתי חתונות. אמר רב ששת, says רב ששת, מה הייתה אמר שתית? So why was Rav באמת quiet? לא שמיע ליד איתניה, you didn't hear what was written. אף על פי שאמרו, even though they said, הם מקבלים צאן ברזל מישראל, that they cannot, even though you cannot come and take money, whether we're talking about, right, money or chafatzim, צאן ברזל מישראל, means basically that you're going to be obligated in everything to the Israel. He says, אבל מקבלים צאן ברזל מן נוכרים, but you can't take it from the goy. Because remember, from the goy, you're allowed to accept ריבית. אבל אמרו בה, they said, השם פרע לחברו, ואמר לו, הרי פתחה צויה עליי ב-30 דינר, ואני אעלה לך סלע בחודש, מותר, it's going to be permitted. לפי שלא עשה דמים, because you didn't accept the value like a chov on the mount. So therefore, Rav comes and he says, you could bring a proof. שמותר להתחייב דמי השכירות, and also לשלם נזק. That means it's not a problem of ריבית. It means you're allowed to come and accept upon yourself both. You pay schirut plus shmirat, I don't know what you want to call it, shmirat nezakim. That if something gets damages, you have to pay for it. It does exist. Okay? So says the Gemara, זה מה שקרה לך. Says the Gemara, ולא עשה, he says, one second, the socher didn't make a chov on the damim? He says, for sure he did it. Why? He says, baratecha is going to be for me for 30 dinar. Amar Rav Sheshat, Rav Sheshat lo asa damim mechayim. That's only if it's after death, which means that if it's only going to be, if he was going to be mekabelet atzmo, that if it dies, right, then it's going to be the 30 dinar instead of it, but not nizakim. So Rav Papa says, hilchat asfina agra or pagra. That's halacha. You actually could charge the rent plus pay the damages. You could actually do that, right? And that's what we're going to, obviously, that's what's going to continue with that.